Hi there guys, we're going to be explaining one-point perspective, and to cover the formalities of this video I'm just going to be explaining these points over here for us. So we have our stationary point, which is at the actual person that's going to be standing here looking at this building. I'll be able to see everything from the left hand point all the way right through to the right hand point, and everything that falls behind these 2 points, including these lines and some of the points at the back, will then obviously be hidden in detail. I will also be joining everything in my front view to my vanishing point, as I know the further away an object moves away from me, it will then start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually on the horizon line it will vanish. Okay. The nice thing about this is, to find the vanishing point, I'll just have to draw a vertical line straight from my stationary point all the way up to the horizon line, and that will be the vanishing point. Okay, now that we know that, let's go ahead and join the actual points. There are simple, subtle rules that we need to follow by joining the stationary point to each one of the points that do not touch the picture plane. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and join each one of these points to my stationary point, like so. Okay, well, what did I mean by picture plane? This line over here is my picture plane, and I have 2 specific points that are touching my picture plane, and when it touches the picture plane, I drop it straight down, and in this case you can see that it actually gives me the result of the length or the width between that wall and this wall over here. So here we go, project that one straight down, and there we have it. You'll notice that this surface over here is drawn in final line. That is because it has an upper and a lower point. So if we look at the top view, that point there that is touching the picture plane, it has an upper and a lower point. Remember, this is the top view, so it has an upper and a lower point, and it is only seen in the front view over here as an upper and a lower point. So does this point have an upper and a lower point? Okay. Then obviously this roof type over here is also drawn in construction. If I may, I'm going to project this point here straight down onto there, just to show you that that point is in line with this guy here. That is how I found it. And also that this point over here does not land on the actual picture plane. Alright, that point there has a distance away from the picture plane that is going to determine the depth at which I'm going to project this line and find that point. So I'm going to go ahead and connect each one of these points back to my vanishing point. Alright, the normal lines that you'll always be doing, this will always be connecting to my vanishing point, no matter whether it's lower than the SP or higher, and my top view will always be connecting to the stationary point, whether it's above the vanishing point or lower, down below the vanishing point. Okay. Already you can see a little bit of a concept of what's going to be happening over here. So I want to go ahead and get the bottom portion of this house done first. I now know that this is a flat surface that's touching the picture plane, and when I move further up, you'll notice that there's a line over here. This line over here is a fold line, because that point over there is not part of the surface. Okay, this point over here is further back, and by pushing that point further back, I've caused a fold line. Right, if you look at your top view, there's your fold line between that point, and this point is further back, so it has a little bit of a slant surface over here, and that is that slant surface I find over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the points that are touching the picture plane. This point over here is forced to touch the picture plane over there. That point over there is forced to touch the picture plane over there. That point over there is forced to touch the picture plane over there. And this point over here is forced to touch the picture plane over there. Now we know that when those points are found on the picture plane, I've got to go ahead and drop them straight down. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. There. Remember, I've got to follow that point. So let's just quickly drop all the points down to where I think I might have to find them. Remember, these have to be vertical lines. There we go. Okay, now that I've done all the construction, let's follow up with the actual points. If I want to, like I said, I want to go find the back end of this house. I can already see a little bit of a shape forming here. So I'm going to go ahead and plot it. Remember, I'm finding that point over there, which represents 2 points, an upper and a lower point, just like that point over there did. Okay, so I'm going to go follow that projection down to my picture plane, cut my picture plane over there, and project it down. Right, that's the line I'm going to follow. I'm going to simply plot that point over there and over there because it connects with the upper point and the lower point. Okay. If I want to neaten that up and make it show the lines a little bit more clearer, I'm going to go ahead and highlight these 2 lines and change them to a final line. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I also need to now go and find this point over here. Now remember, I've got a template over here. That is what it would look like from the front view, but it's not actually on the picture plane, which means I can't draw that point or these lines in final. I've got to go find that point which has a depth off of the picture plane back here. I have now simply used this depth to find that point on the picture plane, project it straight down, and intersects with a line that connects with my apex over here. So that point over there is actually over there. So let's go and join that with final lines. Now this is going to look a little odd, but remember that this is from your 1-point perspective. Alright? Just like everything looks odd when it moves away from you and gets smaller, so does this roof, this template of this roof. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and plot the point at the back. This point joins this point over here, which also falls along this line over here. Okay, remember this is the template I've got to use for the apex of my roof that goes all the way back to the vanishing point. That point over there projected down to my stationary point connects with my picture plane at this point here, and I know that when things touch the picture plane, it needs to be projected straight down. Let's find that intersection point over there that connects with that template's apex. Right, now I have found the other point to connect to. I'm simply going to go select that line over there, and I'm going to change it to a final line. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I know that my final object now has been found by simply finding the points first and then connecting the points to give me my shape. That is going to be the final object right over there. Okay, so if you want to, please go ahead and, I would like to say rewind, that's the older term, but just track back on the video and you can replay certain sections to follow exactly how I found certain points. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please comment on this video if you find it helpful, like it so that others can see that it is helpful. Thank you for watching.